What is known about Trevor's background is highly speculative and comes from his own words. Trevor was born and raised in Canada, near the border with the United States, or, as he calls it, the Canadian border region of America. He claims he grew up in 5 states, 2 countries, in 14 different homes, 3 care homes, 2 correctional facilities, with 8 fathers, and 1 beautiful damaged flower of a mother. While psychopath and sociopath are sometimes used synonymously, they have different meanings and different patterns of traits and behaviors. What's the difference between psychopath versus sociopath, and which one applies to Trevor? Psychopaths lack a conscience and don't feel empathy for others. They may pretend to care but often maintain a normal facade to cover up cold-hearted or even criminal behaviors. Sociopaths may experience limited empathy and remorse for their actions. They struggle to maintain normal behaviors and routines and can be impulsive and overly emotional. A sociopath may recognize that their actions are wrong, but find ways to rationalize their impulsive and harmful behaviors. So now, knowing this, let's take a look over Trevor's life. As a child, he had a history of rage issues and violent impulses that ruined his attempts to fit into society. He claims that, in a fit of rage, he sodomized his hockey coach with a hockey stick, and at some point he strangled a clarinet player with his own instrument. He also claims to have killed various animals and drifters, even during the early years of his life. Trevor's childhood itself was an unhappy one. His father was physically abusive towards him, while his mother was emotionally abusive, overbearing, treated him with condescension, and saw him as a useless boy who cared little about his mother. When he was a child, Trevor's father abandoned him in a shopping mall, which Trevor later burned down in retaliation. Trevor also had a brother named Ryan, whom Trevor was not fond of. Ryan died in an accident prior to 2013. Trevor has been described as a difficult person to deal with. Extreme, impetuous, vengeful, psychopathic, unhinged, unpredictable, untamed, infamous, homicidal, and prone to violent outbursts and destructive rampages. Although Trevor is like this, he is honest about it and will never show hypocrisy. He has his own charm along with his own principles. However, Dan Hauser has confirmed that Trevor may not be all he seems and is still too horrible to be a hero of any kind. He is also quite insecure about being born in Canada and takes offense to people mocking his accent. Almost all of his rampages are caused by Trevor flying into rage over being mocked over his Canadian accent. Trevor dropped out of school, which is the possible reason why he has a lack of some basic knowledge, such as the location of ancient Rome, which he thought was a part of America. He also reveals that he has problems with grammar and improvises when it comes to punctuation. It is possible that he had some formal education, as he mentions during police chases that he took a night class in criminal law. However, this could be sarcasm. Trevor has good mathematical skills, being able to accurately calculate the price of 4 tons of gold in a matter of seconds. When playing golf, Trevor says that he was the Canadian under-18 champion and almost turned pro. Later in his life, Trevor discovered that he had a talent for flying jets. He enlisted in the Air Force to fly fighter jets, but several days prior to completing his training and becoming a licensed pilot, Trevor was deemed mentally unstable by the witch, in charge of psychological evaluations, thus resulting in Trevor's discharge and grounding for life. It was implied his discharge was due to his psychological relationship with his mother. After being discharged from the military, Trevor became a drifter and committed petty crimes along the border with no particular goal in mind. He never committed any serious crimes until he met Michael Townley around age 20, circa late 1980s, escorting cargo across the border. Trevor's mere presence always puts others on edge due to his extremely short temper and unpredictable, impulsive behavior. Ron, who is one of Trevor's friends, and an unlikely one at that, is constantly terrified of him and frequently tries to appease Trevor whenever he can, especially if he is close to getting angry. Michael is also wary of him when they reunite, stepping in front of his son to protect him. Despite Ron's fear and Trevor's psychopathic behavior, they do seem to show a level of trust to each other, as Trevor usually tasks Ron to do a few missions for him, such as blowing up the Lost MC fuel tank and helping him drop off cargo via a plane, as well as running Trevor Phillips Enterprises in his absence. Wade, another friend, is equally scared of Trevor. Though Trevor torments and punches Wade often, this bullying extends to Wade's cousin, Floyd, as well. Even strangers who have seen very little of him can be put off by his presence, shown when he instantly put Fabian on edge, despite not even knowing him in the opening cutscene for the mission, Fame or Shame. Out the three protagonists, he is the most scary, as he easily kills with no remorse, has the typical parental issues, abandoned by his father and sensitive about his mother, is a pyromaniac, frequently abducts people and takes them to the altruist cult. The cult in question is implied to be made up of cannibalistic killers of which Trevor seems to be aware of, which he calls his friends in the mountains, and has the habit of making sadistic jokes about his victims. Trevor seems to only care about the people very close to him, and he can be truly loyal to them, which specifically includes his mother, Patricia Madrazo, Maud, Michael, and later on, even Franklin and Lamar. Brad's death affected him harshly, leaving him to blame Michael for what happened 9 years ago back in North Yankton. In contrast with his heavily sociopathic behavior, he has shown many times how needy he is for love and care. He tells Michael repeatedly how much he mourned him, to the point that he got a memorial tattoo with Michael's name on it. As he was being confronted by Floyd and Deborah, he told them how much he wanted to be with them. His relationship with Patricia was also a display of true love, and in his words, he enjoyed a lot the time spent with her. While it is never stated in-game, Trevor shows textbook signs of intermittent explosive disorder, a mental condition which includes episodes of impulsive behavior that could result in serious damage to anyone and anything around them, aggression grossly disproportionate to what provoked it, and episodic violence that cannot be categorized with any other existing mental and physical medical condition. Although very rarely seen in-game, Trevor appears to be secretly ashamed and a bit scared of his personality. When hanging out with both Michael and Franklin simultaneously, Trevor might reveal in an ashamed tone that he doesn't want his mother to see him like this. If Trevor hangs out with Lamar enough times, he will admit to Lamar that sometimes he realizes how he's thinking, fixation on violence, horrible brutalities, etc., and gets scared of himself. While Trevor is often controlling, loud, and willing to hurt anyone who he perceives as a threat in some way, whether physically or mentally, he is terrified by his mother. Upon meeting her in his trailer in the mission, Mrs. Phillips, he speaks incoherent sentences, is unable to answer questions, and runs off to do the job she assigns to him without questioning it. So after learning all of this about Trevor, we might assume that he is a sociopath because he may experience limited empathy and remorse for his actions. He struggles to maintain normal behaviors and routines, and can be impulsive and overly emotional. Trevor may recognize that his actions are wrong, but also finds ways to rationalize his impulsive and harmful behaviors.